Okay, YouTube, this is Wink again, and today we're going to replace the shocks on my Honda 750 Shadow Ace. It's a 99. The seat is a Mustang seat. It's a pretty thick seat. So when I bought it, I'm thinking, well, I'm gonna have to lower the seat a little bit. You know what I mean? The guy he's 6'2", so he bought a nice comfortable seat, and I want to keep that seat. But then again, I want my ride height down. And as you can see, the stock shocks are pretty nice. They're big. The only thing is, they're 12.5 inches. Okay, so they really don't offer much. They offer a 11.5 inch. I mean, you drop it an inch, that's not good. I bought a bracket that goes down here, and maybe I'll show you here in a minute. But what it does is relocate the shock eye back to here, and it bolts onto the stud here, but it brings it back here. And the problem I have with that is my saddle bag, right? So when this bracket lifts it back, then my shock angle goes right up into here, and then that way I have to move my bags and everything. So I didn't like that. And lowered shocks are expensive if you can get a 2-inch lowered shock. Now, from 12.5 to 10.5 is 2 inches. So if you go to Progressive and you're looking for a 10.5 inch shock, you're talking a couple $100, man. You know what I mean? I mean, they are nice to get the bike down, and I like to have the bike down. So the thing was to find a cheap shock. I paid $50 for them brackets I'm not even going to use, and they're sitting right here. Let's see. Yeah, okay, these are it. These are what I paid for. And one of these two brackets go back here like this. This piece here, right? You got this piece here bolts to that piece right there, right? It goes up against there. This is the other side, because this piece lays against the frame to try and lock it in. So these holes are a little bit smaller than the shock bushing stud. So they're press fit too, so they lock in pretty good. I'd feel safe with them. And but they're just not going to work for what I need. Like you can see, if I angle this shock back that way, then I'm going to have problems with my strut for my saddlebag, and then I'm going to have to move my saddlebags back, and I don't want to do all that. So did some internet research, which lucky nowadays we have internet. These I'm going to just take the loss on. I'm not even going to send them back. I'll use them on something else. Okay. So they were like $50. So there's $50 into the venture right there. There's all the nuts, bolts, spacers, and everything that goes with it. There's a $50 bill right there, give or take. and they're not going to work for what I want. So after all the research I did, I'm like, okay, I found a 10.5 inch shock, and you won't believe what it is. It is a Honda Rebel 450 shock. Okay, and I'm gonna show you what the difference is. This is the shocks, right? So they're 10.5 inches. If you look on the thing here, this eye is about 10.5 inches, and at the top, that's about in the center of this. Okay, so a 10.5 inch Rebel shock. So the trick to it is, will they fit and will they work? Well, we're going to find out, which is nice because you can change these to other bikes. Okay, so I've already removed my seat, and which I'm going to clean all up in here, but don't want to waste time on the camera. All right, so my next thing is to remove the shock, and I've already taken them off and got all this ready so I could go. I don't sit here and have to bore people to death with unscrewing parts and everything else. And you really don't need to know how to remove the seat and all that. If you don't know how to remove it, then you don't need to be working on these shocks. You know? So if you're not mechanically inclined enough, then you'll figure out how to get this far. Okay, so I got the shock, and I'm going to take it off and lay it over here and compare it to the Rebel shock. Alright, come off of there, baby. Alright, a little tight there. 11,000 miles on these shocks. Okay, we got that off. Alright, now what I want to do is lay it over here and look at it. Okay, so I got it about right. Okay, so it runs out to around 12.5 inches, eye to eye. You know, they don't make any 12 and 7/16 or 12 and 5/8. It's 12.5 or 13.5 or 11.5. Okay, so you can see the difference, right? Big difference, 2-inch difference. Okay, so that's going to lower the bike 2 inches. So, are we going to have good ground clearance or any of that? Well, we're going to find out. I'm going to pause and shorten the video. But before I do, the last thing I did, and I didn't get to put it on the video for you guys, is I put what they call a highway gear set, which is the chain, the O-ring chain, the sprocket, and the front sprocket. So the front sprocket they call the drive sprocket. The back sprocket is the driven sprocket because it's driven by the front sprocket. Okay, so anyhow, on the chain, the original chain, it had what they call an endless link, which means you don't have a master link. So I had to grind out a couple pins, and I did it up in here. Ground out a couple pins and knocked it out. And then I put the new chain on, and the thing with the new chain is it was a little too long. So my front sprocket is a 17 tooth, which is a stock sprocket for the 750 Honda Shadow Ace 99. And the rear sprocket stock is a 41. So I got a 38 tooth, which is 3 teeth shorter, which is the highway gear. And so being a 5-speed, it actually almost feels like a 6-speed now. And now I want to lower it. And to do that, I had to take off the seat and everything, like I said. And then I'm going to pull the shocks off. And I already have them where I can get them off. These are 12 millimeter bolts, by the way. And I used a 12 millimeter wrench to get them off. Okay, this is the one by the muffler. You can see the muffler. I got some Jardine pipes on there, really nice, rumbly, crackly little pipes when you let off the gas. Okay, so pull the shock off and get them off and out of the way so I can get the new ones on and check them out and see how they're going to work out. Alright, YouTube, usually I do kayak builds and everything, but now that I got a lot more time on my hand, I'm going to do other things. Alright, let's see. So, what is the difference between these two shocks? Alright, now I would say the eyes would be the first thing I'd be looking at. Okay, and so I look at the Rebel, and it's got a sleeve in it. And I'm thinking, if I remove that sleeve, will it be the same diameter as the rubber here? And I'm like, well, if it's not, then I'm going to have a problem. But somebody on the internet said they done tried it, but I didn't get the specifics how they did it. Okay, so this seems to be the same size as that one, looking at it, right? But looking at this one, you can tell it is not. So, I don't know if I can do it, but I should be able to push this this bushing out of the shock. Let's try it on this. Put my foot on it and give it a little push. Okay, so that did pop out. That popped out the whole bushing. Okay, that's okay. So I got to remove this one, this little metal bushing here, from the sleeve. Okay, so what do we got here? Got the sleeve out of it, and I'm taking this sleeve out. We need to know if this bushing is going to work the same as that bushing. So I got the bushing out a little bit, the metal bushing, not the rubber bushing. And we'll see if it's going to fit in there. And you know what? It fits in there. Look at that. It fits in that bushing. So that tells me the diameter is going to be that big around when I pull the bushing out of here. So that would make this shock slide right onto my bike with no problems. Okay, so this bushing fits the front one too. With a little slight pressure, it fits in there. See that? Okay, good sign. So if you have a bike other than the one I'm working on, you want lowered shocks. Basically, the inside diameter of most 99% of these shocks are the same around the inside diameter. The only difference is the diameter of the inside of the rubber bushing. Okay, so in other words, I could push this bushing out and put this one in there. Okay, let's try it. Okay, I don't know if I got enough strength to push that out. I mean, it's coming, but that bushing will put out and fit right into here, no problem. So if you got a bike with different mounting hole diameter, 99% of the time that inside diameter shock ring is all the same. So the only difference is the inside diameter of the rubber bushing, but you can pop one to the other. Okay, so you can take off your 12.5-inch shock and put on your 10.5-inch shock, and if you have to, you can change out the bushings with your old shock. Cool, huh? Because these shocks here only cost $60 on eBay, brand new. Alright, so we're going to find out if the shocks are going to be good. I'm sure they'll be a little softer, which I like. I'm a light person anyhow, so I'll get a little cloud more like ride out of them. But supposedly at full height is 10.5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to put it on pause and set it up. Alright, we're going to go back over here to the bike and set it up for the small shocks, and we'll come back and I'll show you how these switch over. I'll pop the other ones out. Okay, so I guess we're still rolling. Here's the stock shock. I pulled the bushing out. This is the bushing for that. It's bushing here. I'll try it out. Okay, and this is the one for the Honda Rebel shock. So I need to pop this out right here, and we have the same bushing, almost identical. This one come out of here. Okay, that one come out of there, and this one came out of here. But we can switch them around either way, as long as that inside diameter of this rubber bushing is the same as the shock mount on your bike. They will work. So how's that? 10.5-inch shocks are around $60 or less. I've seen them for less. Okay, so, and these just pop right in. You know, I'd like to, there you go. Now pop right in there. So this is what it looks like now. The top eyes are great. Okay, so on the bottom, all you have to do is pop this out, right? So you can use a few things to pop them out. You can use the end of this ratchet and pop it out. Just push it through there, it'll come out. Okay, so you chunk these out of there, and you get a nice pair of 10.5-inch shocks to put on your bike, lowered shocks. Okay, so I'm going to put you on pause again, and hopefully the video won't stop till I get it done. Okay, I got the The shocks on there, it was a little tight on the bottom bushing, but it went right on there, and put a little lube on there. And the top, I'm gonna have to put a little lube on there and probably draw it on just a little bit. It's just a hair, man. I could probably get it on with the palm of my hand, but that's, you know, I can't take any more abuse on my hands. But anyhow, that's the way it is, and it's looking good. I'll be back to you here in a few. Okay, people, I'm back. And look at that. I got it bolted on there. Amazing. It fits, man. $60 10.5 inch shocks, man. Look at that. Okay, here's the stock one. Right, here's the stock one. Oh man, I wish I had 18 hands. But anyhow, that's the stock one. A lot bigger shock. Too much bigger. That's perfect. Alright, I get it all snapped back together. I'll sit on it. I can tell already that it's dropped down considerably. 2 inches is considerably. And if I use them brackets, if I take the saddlebags off, I can use them 1.5 inch brackets I bought for 50 bucks and move this pivot angle back here and drop it another 1.5 inches. So that'd be 3.5 inches I could drop between $60 shocks and the $50 brackets. So you can drop it, let's see, 3.5 inches. But right now it's only 2.5 because that's all I want. And I'll have problems with my saddlebag if I go any further. See how close this is? Right between there and there. Well, when you drop it 1.5 with this bracket, it puts, this is only like 1/4 inch. So if you bottom out on the shock, this is going to bang into your shock. That's why I went ahead and just bought these shocks, but I didn't want to pay $200, $300, $600 for a pair of shocks, man. So thanks to people that post on YouTube, I was able to gather some information and put something together that wouldn't kill my budget. And there it is, you know. Alright guys, I'll be back in a little bit.